Factsverse presents. A flight attendant told this mom to get off the plane. Then her life took a turn for the worse. Today it seems as though we're always hearing about passengers being asked to get off of a plane. In some cases, it is the passenger's fault. In other cases, the airline's at fault. A woman named Peggy Ewell was leaving from Chicago's Midway International Airport, and the flight attendant told her to get off immediately. Now, before we get into why Peggy was asked to leave the plane, let's get into a few times that a person was forced to leave a plane. Most of them have made the news. David Daudet An is a Vietnamese-American doctor. In April 2017, he was taking a United Airlines flight to his home in Louisville. 4 airline staff members had to get to Louisville as well, and the airline asked if anybody would be willing to give up their seats. When no passengers were willing to give up their seats, the staff selected 4 passengers to get off the plane. The first 3 complied, but David refused to give up his seat. David was described as being disruptive, belligerent, but witnesses on the plane, they told a different story. Video footage was taken by other passengers that proved David was not disruptive or aggressive. The airline staff was less than friendly. Security dragged David from his seat, causing him to knock his face on the armrest. David tried to explain that he was a pulmonologist. He had a patient in the morning, which meant taking another flight wasn't an option. David sued the airline, and they settled for an undisclosed amount for his mistreatment. In October 2018, a woman was taking a Southwest Airlines flight from Chicago to Houston. When a flight attendant told her to fold up her table before takeoff, she got angry with the flight attendant's request. She refused to comply and became verbally abusive. Because of her behavior, the pilot returned the plane to the departure gate. Video footage showed the woman going into a racially offensive tirade against the airline staff. As she was removed from the plane, the other passengers began to cheer and applaud. It's an example of a woman who deserved to be thrown off a plane, and there was no settlement for her. She deserved what she got. In May 2019, a man and his wife were traveling from Sacramento, California to Austin, Texas. A problem arose when the plane was being refueled, and there were maintenance issues. This delayed the flight for several hours after the passengers had already boarded. The airline staff was handing out water bottles to keep everybody hydrated. When a man was offered a bottle of water, he suggested that they serve vodka instead. The flight attendants did not find the joke funny, and they reprimanded the man. His wife intervened, telling the flight attendant her husband was only joking and reminded the flight attendant that they'd been on the plane for hours. The flight attendant responded by saying, "Well, so have I, so get used to it." But soon she was on the phone, calling the pilot, and that couple was thrown off the plane. Southwest didn't apologize for this incident, but they did release a statement saying that they regret any less than favorable customer experience. This couple did not deserve to be thrown off the plane. Karen Momsen-Evers received a message from her husband saying that he wanted to kill himself. She was terrified, but the flight attendant told her to shut her phone off. She was distraught and asked the flight attendant if she could make an emergency phone call. The crew member ignored her, so she asked another crew member to allow her to make an emergency call. She was told there was nothing that they could do. Karen was a mess the entire flight, and when she landed, there were police officers there waiting for her. They told her husband had committed suicide. According to Southwest Airlines, the aircrew is supposed to inform the pilot of an emergency situation, but they didn't this time. Now, let's get back to Peggy Ewell. When Peggy was asked to get off the plane, she wasn't being unruly. She wasn't causing a commotion. She was sitting quietly when she was told to get off that plane. Peggy didn't want to create a disturbance, so she got out of her seat as she was told. When she got off the plane, she was told her husband had been desperately trying to reach her. Their son had been in an accident and suffered a brain injury. Peggy panicked. She didn't know how she was going to get to Denver, which was where her son was. Fortunately, the airline was already ahead of her. They had booked her on a direct flight that would be leaving in the next 2 hours. They offered her a private waiting area. They rerouted her luggage. They even packed her a lunch for when she got off the plane in Denver. She couldn't believe how kind the staff of Southwest Airlines was to her. The airline flew her to Denver free of charge. They called her a few days later for an update on her son. She was happy to inform the agent who called that her son was doing better and he was expected to make a full recovery. Peggy can't say enough about how wonderful she was treated during this ordeal. Subscribe for more.